Welcome back to Dat Build. Today I'm continuing my progress on my 1989 Porsche Turbo Replica. It's going to be a little bit of a different episode. It's more for me historical documentation, or videography anyway, of my plan to remove the tub from the actual frame. Given I've never done this and I don't really know how they put it on there in the first place, it does kind of seem easy, but there has to be a process of elimination. So I'm going to go over how everything's bolted together, where I need to actually start in order to lift it off, but by the same account as well, ensure that nothing here breaks or gets damaged along the way. Because of this front section, I do want to try and get the body level first. I want to get the roof on so that it meets up properly, has a nice clean finish, and then possibly look at securing that into place so that when I do go to put it back on there, it will sit properly. So one obvious spot to start is this section here, which connects the tub to the base. We have, what is that about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There is supposed to be 8. And to be honest, I think it's supposed to be 9, but they didn't actually do the rear at all. They simply left those. Same on the other side, no difference there at all. There's nothing on the in section. It's simply just the actual chassis there. The rear is not bolted at all. And I can't see, or maybe there is, maybe not. I can't see actually any holes there that perhaps should be there in order to secure the tub down. That gap at the back is a worry. But again, this has not been installed correctly. It is bulged. This is sitting high here. This should be a flat surface. So I'm hoping that, yeah, that's obviously very secure right now. I don't get anywhere. We then have the bracketry going across. So 8 bolts secures that onto the A-pillar brace sections. But the A-pillar brace sections also go into where the doors mount. So that's another part as well. That in itself, that's a 2-part process. I'll have to figure out which order to take these out. It probably doesn't matter, but it also kind of does. And the one big reason being, this isn't even actually lined up. I've just realised. This here, the actual fiberglass cutout, that side there is closer to the A-pillar. It's hard on. It is literally right against it. Whereas on this side, there's a bit of a gap. It's further away. I don't really know what the cause is there. Again, it could just be incorrect fitment. That side is a little more bulged, so having that sit upright would maybe push that over. I don't know how to push it over as much as this one here. So we need to remove the brace, the cross brace there, and then the A section arm, I would simply say we unbolt that to the fiberglass angle section here, and then underneath, okay. So we just found out that this is a part of the major space frame section. It's not a separate bolt-on part. It is part of the main structure, which means that the body does need to be lifted off, and it will be a tight fit because these here are, of course, blended, which means it's sitting taut. It's sitting hard up against it. Oh boy, this is going to take a while to figure out. The rear's fine. I don't have to worry about that at all. Remove those bolts. That's the rear end sorted. Undo these bolts here, but then I've got to be careful because the only thing supporting the vehicle is the jack stands. This entire front section will be the only last thing holding things together. So I'm thinking, in order of process, oh geez, because that's, okay, let's keep looking at everything else and I'll keep working through this in my mind. One thing I do keep forgetting, the more I look over this car to plan to remove the tub, is that first off I do want to actually correct the problem with the front end. From looking at everything, my biggest concern is that I don't think it's still going to sit into place properly. There are a couple of factors here. Number one, this front frame here, which looks like a tack-on later on, is supporting the nose piece. So that needs to be dropped. It does kind of float on there at the moment, like I do have a bit of flex, but I dare say that once I think the best course of action is undo these first. So take these bolts off. That drops the stress onto here. This may flex a little bit. We'll find out. And then that front section there, perhaps if I loosen those bolts onto the beam, that might give enough play there as well. So I think that's going to be where I'm going to start. I'll slacken these, slacken those, and then see if that tilts. Tackle into it. Funnily enough, I don't really need power tools. These are on finger tight, as usual. It just makes quicker work though. Now this one's going to be a little bit more entertaining. The bottom bolt, because they've done this weird cutout and the other side is a little more clear, I can get this down there, but I can't get the power tool down there. The issue is on the inside, I can get this down there, but I don't think I can get the power tool down there. I may have to manually do that one, which is not really that big of an issue, but nevertheless, it would have been nicer not to. The unfortunate part about having only an hour a day to work on this is, well, time. I am now into the next day, and I'm up to the part of removing this front piece. This is pretty much the last bit I need to remove in order for the front to be able to flex a bit easier. This has next to no weight on it as it is, so it's more or less just sitting there at the moment on the frame. But as soon as I start to cut that section at the front, it will want to dip a bit more. So I do need to remove this. I may just try and level it downwards. I don't know if I have enough clearance at this corner edge, but we'll see how we go. I doubt anything. Oh, that's actually on there, amazing. What about, nope, okay, nope. Finger tight, as usual. The funny thing about this, you can pretty much dismantle this entire car very easily. Now the only thing I am worried about, I haven't touched Volkswagens for a very long time, and what I've realised that I'm now doing, this could have been really bad if I didn't figure it out straight away. I'm sure some of you are probably screaming now going, stop, stop. I'm undoing these 3 bolts here, which has this bracket on. The only problem though is these 3 bolts are also the bolts are holding on this beam axle to the actual chassis. So as soon as I remove these, goodbye beam, drop the entire car. How am I going to do this? I'll get back to you shortly. So a bit of off-camera work happened. I ended up getting the piece removed. The front sway bar here is still holding it in place, so it will be there for a little bit. I'll deal with that once the actual tub is off and get that sorted. I don't think they've reused the proper bolts for the beam axle going onto the chassis. It's still not sitting properly. The actual beam is tilting slightly forward or backwards, depending on how you think of it. And it's just not, it's not sitting right in my head. It's not really doing the job for me. It didn't look right to begin with when I thoroughly inspected it, but having a look at it now, putting it back on, it was just, the bolts just don't seem right. There's not enough thread on the end of them. It should be going right through the other side. I should be able to see just the very tips of the bolts, and I cannot see that. On to the actual section. So we do have that now removed. This is a bit more free. Of course, we still have this section here to cut away. Once we've done that, we can then tilt it a bit more. I'll get my friend Mr. Daniels here to help me a bit further, supporting the front so it doesn't drop completely. I don't think it will. There's still a bit of structure here, but I don't want anything to crack, snap, and obviously drop, and that'll just cause further issues. I could fix it, but I'd rather not deal with it if I can avoid it. With that, I guess we're moving on to the inside. With a bit further inspection of this section here, where they've blended the top part to the bottom, I've noticed that there is a bit of a shallow section. I could see light coming through from the inside I didn't really know where it was, but looking along here, I thought it was lower down. It's actually right at the very seam here. It doesn't really make a difference. At the end of the day, I don't think it was intended to be this way, and it is very thin. I can put a small screwdriver straight through the guts there. It doesn't really have any substance, whereas that's all really, really solid. This I can nearly, if I find another spot, yeah, there we go. It's just going straight in. So that whole section here, side to side, I'm just going to cut it. And realistically, once the front starts to flex, I'll get an idea. I'm fairly certain that that maybe 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, I'm not really sure, is what I need in order to get the roof at the right angle. Hopefully, once I do that, the front drops a bit lower, and then of course, that solves the problem. I can fiberglass that section once I get the car back on all 4 wheels, which means I'll have to sort that beam out beforehand, but once I do that, rest the car on the floor, put the roof on, fix that into place, and then the tub's done. And that just solves a massive problem. I can sort out the extra holes and gaps later. They are structural, but they're not the main problem towards fixing the roof. So, small hacksaw blade in this case. I can't really get easy access on the inside. I am simply going to try anyway. Yep, there we go. There's nothing really on the inside. If I cut any wires, so be it, so what. These, however, I'm not going to reuse these, but they are on the way. I'll try and work around them as best as possible for now, but we'll see how we go.
All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought 'twas all in good fun. Pop goes the weasel.
So I've come to an annoying sort of, well, roadblock in a way. The fiberglass is kind of dictating the direction in which I cut, and the problem is it's leading me upwards back into the solid. So this here, I really need to use a grinder. I can't be bothered using a grinder because so much more mess. Well, we got some of the way through. It probably always helps to have a charged battery on your equipment because when you start to get through some thicker stuff and the blade starts to get slower, it starts to make things very frustrating. So I can't finish this now. This will be a job for next time. I will have to come back to this. I am a little sparkly and itchy right now from the fiberglass, but to be expected. White powder galore, it's Christmas as it is, so there we are. And yeah, I'll pick this up later. Ring, 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 ring. Ring, 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 ring. Ring, 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 ring. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
Hello, Jack. That battery charge is set to blow. As soon as you pull the trigger, it's good night.
Well, that's only gonna work if I pull the trigger. Mr. Daniels, if this grinder stops, we're gonna explode. What do we do?
I have to go now. My planet needs me.